Hi, I'm Shokti, Shokti Lovestar, radical fairy of London town and one of the organisers of the world's first Queer Spirit Festival. Queer Spirit was a coming together of many groups within the LGBTIQ community, groups and individuals who are exploring our nature as spiritual beings as well as sexual beings. It's a place for Queer Spirit Festival is a place for embodied spirituality. It's about who we are as incarnate, flesh-made spirit. It's not a space to come and talk about what our beliefs are, what our religions are. It's where we come and actually be actively engaged physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually with each other. It's the next step, and it's the accumulation of many years' work in radical fairy circles, queer pagan community camps, the growth of gay yoga, queer tantra, shamanic workshops, all these things that have been happening on the sidelines of mainstream gay life. It was time to bring them all together, and the fact that we had 400 people turn up for the first festival shows that, yeah, this really was the time. Well, I'd love to pick up the Sacred Sexuality Temple. I think this is a real groundbreaking step forward for gay life, the Sacred Sexuality Temple. So honoring the life force, the sexual life force in us as a holy, divine gift that opens our hearts, that opens our souls, that lifts our spirits, that takes us into communion and connection with each other, also with nature, with the universe. And the Sacred Sexuality Temple was a massive hit at the festival. Unfortunately, the space we had for it was just not large enough. The workshops were so popular, people were being turned away. The play parties at night, very popular. The feedback we're getting is so exciting that here queers want to be celebrating the potential in their sexuality to take them into heightened, elevated, enlightened spiritual states of consciousness. I learned that if we come together as a bigger queer community and get out of our ghetto mentalities of the gays over here, the lesbians over here, the trans over here, the bis somewhere, if we come together and honor each other, get to know each other, enjoy each other, then the LGBTIQ community suddenly becomes a singularity again. It was amazing to see lesbians adoring gay men adoring lesbians, trans people so at home and feeling so safe and respected by all the other people that were there. I think in this point in our queer historical development, there's a tendency for the groups to become quite fragmented and suspicious of each other, and I know that's just not what everybody wants. I know that's not what everybody wants. People feel a sense of community, but there's no way to express and be that community except perhaps at Gay Pride, which will be a one-day event in many cities, but only a one-day event every year. The festival gave us a 5-day space to be in that community spirit, but a 5-day space that was not about how intoxicated can we get and how crazy can we get. It was really about how loving can we get, how open can we get, how connected to each other can we get. And that's the reward, a 5-day gay pride without the hangovers. Queer Spirit was starting something new. All the groups that exist already have a kind of tendency to be associated with one subsection of the bigger queer community or the other. So we knew that all these groups were out there and more or less, usually less, connected and aware of each other. So Queer Spirit was something new. It was an opportunity to start a new ball rolling and say this space is owned by nobody. This space is the space of queerness par excellence. Whoever you are, whatever you are, this space is yours. And that was our intention from the start, because it seems that this is the time where some humans are ready for this. That's why it was birthed as such. Completely, and not only sexually diverse, I mean, it was diverse in terms of age range, it was diverse in terms of racial backgrounds. We were the whole world. It really was a rainbow gathering in that sense. We need more lounge space as well, I would say. We would have more cuddle space, cuddle, chill out space. It's not sex space, but where people can go, especially if it's a cold night or a wet night, that people know there's an indoor space to get cozy and comfortable with each other, but without the sexual pressure. I would say that would be a high priority for next time. Well, it was suddenly so exciting after all years, a year of work, and of course a degree of worry, to be at an opening ritual with, I think there were 200 there at the opening ritual on the first night. Uh, People so excited to be coming to that place, so excited and so appreciative. But maybe you should ask people about the closing ritual, because at that opening ritual, what did we know? We were opening, getting the ball rolling. The question would be, how would it feel to come back to the closing ritual 5 days later? And I'm happy to report the feeling was fantastic. So many people at the closing ceremony, such an incredible, powerful spirit going on, such an appreciation of everybody that was on the field, an appreciation of the nature, and a sense of a sense of purpose for queer life that's more than about having a fabulous home, having a perfect body, having the perfect lover, taking the right drugs, going on the right holidays, doing the right shopping. I mean, we do all these things very well already. We do all these aspects of life very well already. So this is the next layer, the next layer. For those that are ready for it, it has arrived. Okay, we're coming up towards 2017, and in the United Kingdom, we will be commemorating the 1967 Act there, that Act of Parliament that partially decriminalised sex between men. I say partially because all that act did was to make it legal for two men to have sex in private. And if anybody else was around, or if anybody else even in the house, it was still an illegal act until I think 2000, late 90s, when the Labour government repealed that act. So yes, we're going to, I think the gay community, particularly gay male community, is going to be doing a lot of soul searching in the next year. What's happened in our 50 years? And it might be that the picture is not all pretty. Issues going on in gay male life, in particular around chemsex, around addiction, around alienation and loneliness and suicides, is pretty serious, pretty severe. So as we go into that 50th anniversary year, I would like Queer Spirit to be there as part of the picture of what is the emerging story of gay life 5 decades into it. The emerging story of gay life is that some of us are embracing who we are from a very deep, profound level, and we want to put out that message, or just that we've learned, I'll share our learning that coming out itself is a spiritual act. It's the first spiritual act of self-affirmation, of I am who I am. It's the I am what I am who I am. It's the coming out, it's the start of a journey of self-discovery, or a step on the journey of self-discovery. And a queer culture that can embrace that, the journey of self-discovery goes on, would be a much more healthy queer culture, I believe, and something that we can choose to develop consciously in years to come. So I want to see queer spirit as an umbrella kind of energy that can show the world that there are all these many, many, many ways in which queer people are exploring their heart, exploring their souls, exploring their spirit outside of established religions. One of the things that's always annoyed me about the gay media, when it features spiritual issues, it almost 99% of the time focuses on our relationships with religion, or what religions are saying about us, doing about us, how we're reacting against that, whatever. The real story, and it's been going on since the 1970s, but rarely makes it into the mainstream press, so the vast majority of queer people don't get to hear about it, is that our queers have been exploring our own relationship with nature, our own relationship with the spiritual dimensions of life, in sacred groves, in fairy sanctuaries, on beaches, up mountains, in woods, tucked away, hidden spaces where queers get in touch with the core of our nature as channels of energy, channels of love, communicators of spirit, healers of the human spirit. We have a very well-established scientific and medical system going on in this world, producing miracles on the physical level. But in terms of the spirit of humanity, that is not being well looked after at the moment. That's, I believe, the destiny of queer people, is to emerge as spirit healers, soul healers. And the way that we become that for the planet is to become that for ourselves. So as 2017 comes up and we celebrate 50 years of this partial decriminalisation, which actually kept gay sex very, very kind of dark and dirty and shady for many decades, as we come to this point, I want a queer spirit to be a symbol that we're not only coming out of the sexual shadows, we're coming out of the spiritual shadows. And this spirituality that we're exploring, as I've said, is not about our relationship with the religions. It's about our inheritance, the inheritance waiting for us to claim, the inheritance left to us from the tribal peoples of planet Earth, who throughout this world made no judgment about gay, straight, good, bad, about sexuality until it was brought in and imposed by monotheistic patriarchal cultures. When the Europeans arrived in the New World, they found the Native Americans were completely at ease about all forms of sexuality, and indeed even considered that those that were drawn to the same gender were the one who were the spirit workers, were the carriers of the spiritual energy, and the priests and the shamans for the tribe. It was all that was connected. This was not only in America, this was the tribal practice throughout the world. There are examples across every continent of tribal peoples where the ones who were the gender benders of the tribe, who combined the masculine and feminine energies within themselves, were also the conduits of spirit, combining the physical and the spirit within themselves, because that combination of the gender energies gave them the doorway, the gateway, the opening into a greater understanding, or into a relationship with the spiritual realms. Now, this kind of energy was wiped out in Europe over the course of 1,000 years, up until late Roman times, medieval times. Very, very normal to have transsexual, homosexual priests, priestesses operating in the temples in the old pagan religions. Very, very normal for across Europe that the shamanic practitioners of the tribes were the women and the feminine men. So a lot of effort was put into, 1,000 years of effort was put into eradicating this practice from Europe. And then the Europeans arrived in the New World and found it going on there. They arrived in Africa and found it going on there. They arrived in Asia. In Japan, there was so much gay sex going on in the monasteries, and it was so normal, it was viewed as a privilege that the monastic classes were entitled to, that when the Jesuits objected and said it was wrong, they were literally laughed out of town by the Japanese. So this is a forgotten history from several hundred years ago. But it's ours to reclaim. It's ours to wake up to and find this ancestry in ourselves. So queer spirit for me is about reaching to the indigenous soul in every human being, the bit of us that is in core relationship with the spirit of this planet, with the elemental forces of this planet, doesn't need personifications of deity necessarily to tell it what's right and what's wrong, doesn't need great priests and prophets to tell us what's right and what's wrong. It's about humans waking up and reconnecting to the core relationship we have with the source of creation. It's the same relationship that all animals have. Animals do not question their relationship with the source. They just get on with it. Humans have developed the ability to question it and then spent long time, thousands of years, analyzing, researching, thinking, contemplating, theorizing about it. Now I think comes the time for less theorizing, less contemplating, and more action, more returning to the state of innocence, if you like, but an informed state of innocence, a conscious state of being in connection with life itself. To embrace who we are as a spiritual being growing and evolving on planet Earth, there are three aspects that are really important that we have to cover. If we don't cover all three, we won't get there. The first is to know the self, the relationship with the self's your own journey. The second is that journey, that relationship with nature, the spiritual consciousness of this planet. But the third aspect is that relationship with community. We need to be in community with other people to grow as individuals. Because it's not the time to sit up on a mountaintop and meditate for the whole of our lives to become enlightenment. That bit of history is over. Yes, monasteries and meditation, we need periods of that, but we need to be in the world. We need to be in community to grow as an individual, as a person. So queer spirit is a space where individuals are gathering and finding each other, individuals who are finding their own way to magic, to light, to spiritual consciousness, where individuals can find other individuals who are also on that path, and groups that have already formed in recent years. The coming together is awesome. It's a homecoming, it's a flowering of the heart. It's an opening to ecstatic joy beyond anything that life can offer us in any other ways. That community aspect is also a frightening aspect for a lot of gay people, because especially if they've had a history with religion, maybe have been abused or burnt by their experiences with religion, so are suspicious of spiritual groups, are suspicious of any group that they perceive may be telling them what to do. So the idea that you could have a queer spiritual community where nobody's telling anybody what to do, where there's no rule book, there's no leaders, we really are coming together to meet each other from the heart and learn from each other, accept that we're all each other's teachers. That there's no leaders and followers here. We all have a turn in the spotlight. We all have a chance to facilitate, to offer our special talents, to offer our gifts. We also all have a turn to take a back seat and learn from others. That's a beautiful sharing in community, which is, I think, unlike any other spiritual community. Also, to be in a spiritual community that honors the sexual energy in us as sacred, as divine, as pure, unlike religious groups which have such issues around. And even many sort of more enlightened spiritual groups don't go into the sexual territory because it's such a minefield of danger. We start from that sexual territory. We're a portion of humanity that's had to work through those sexual issues first for many of us. And so when we grow into the spiritual aspect of who we are, we're also bringing that sexual knowledge and experience. That will make us a very strong community with deep-rooted energy that's not only about the heart and the mind, but it's also about the body. And that seems to be a crucial aspect of queer spirit. It's fully manifesting the beauty of our spirit on a physical, sexual level, as well as creative levels, emotional levels, etc. Becoming who we are as powerful individuals, but becoming who we are as a community, a really bona fide spiritual community on this planet, whose symbol perhaps might be Uranus. Uranus, the awakener, the revolutionary, the ruling planet of the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is the energy of the collective consciousness, of the collective spirit. As we come together in community as queer people, we manifest that consciousness of openness, of acceptance, of tolerance, of love, of compassion. The Aquarian spirit is rising on planet Earth, and queer people's evolution and liberation is a crucial part of that. The Aquarian spirit is about humanity evolving to a higher place of understanding of what life is and how we manifest the life that we want to create on this planet. We're all being pushed to that edge of awakening. Queer people have a crucial role to play in that awakening, about bringing the whole world together as one, seeing that we really are a singular human species, a singular human consciousness, and celebrating our diversity. Through the lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgendered, intersex, asexuals, queers, all coming together and appreciating each other, we're kind of showing how easy that actually can be. Queer Spirit is the gathering of LGBTQ individuals and community groups who are exploring our magical nature, our spiritual nature, as beings in touch with the elements, in touch with the sacred, in touch with the cosmos, in touch with the ancestors, in touch with the nature spirits, in touch with the animal spirits, in touch with the inner child. Queer Spirit is queers opening their hearts and minds to each other, to nature, to the bigger Aquarian reality that we're involved in here. Queer Spirit is queers taking the sexual evolution through the heart, through the open mind, into the spiritual realms. Queer Spirit is about embracing the bliss is the core of our nature. There's a time to meditate. There's a time to journey, there's a time to go inward. There's also a time to go outward, to express our spirituality through dance, through play, through sex, through laughter, through joy. Queer Spirit is the balancing of both those ways. I used to go on gay pride marches where thousands of us were shouting, "We're here, we're queer, and we're not going shopping." That was a very long time ago. They don't shout that on gay pride marches anymore because, let's face it, most of us love shopping. But some of us feel that shopping's not enough. There's more to being queer. In fact, a heck of a lot more. Open to it. We're here. We're queer. We're cosmic. We have a magical inheritance of souls on this earth awaiting us. Queer Spirit Festival. We're here, we're queer, we're cosmic. We're here, we're queer, we're cosmic. We're here, we're queer, we're cosmic. We're here, we're queer, we're cosmic.